Big results in marketing don't always come from having big budgets. I'm going to break down 4 different marketing strategies that you can implement for free that will grow your brand. I'm Gina. I'm a marketing director from South London, and I've spent 15 years building marketing departments in startups, scale-ups, and small businesses. I've done 15 years of hard work and trial and error, so you don't have to. If you are a small brand, if you are a startup, if you are trying to do your marketing by yourself, this is the channel for you. I break down the big brand moves and teach you how to do it with limited time, limited budget, and limited knowledge. So let's get started. This video is going to teach you 4 different marketing strategies that are completely free to implement. I'm going to break down each strategy into how to actually do it for yourself. If you're a small brand or startup, or you're doing this by yourself, you cannot miss this. And for the last strategy, I'm going to give you a product that does it for you for free, so you don't even have to think. The first strategy that you want to implement as a small brand or small business or startup is leveraging your social media. This is free to start and always feels self-explanatory, so where's the value in this, you say? But if you don't have a whole team, years of experience, or even that first post on your grid, leveraging your social media as opposed to just starting it is the best strategy that you can implement for free. If you're part of a small team, you may already have a social media presence. If you're a startup, you probably already have a few channels, but they may not be optimized for growth. I'm going to show you how you focus in and optimize for growth. And if you're a startup or doing it by yourself and you haven't made one post, this is the perfect time to implement this formula to make sure that you're putting enough strategy behind what you're doing to see that growth. So what's the strategy? As always, it starts with your audience. So you're going to first find out where your audience are, which channels they are on. We know that audience sit across multiple channels, but if you are trying to do all of the channels, you are going to fail. That's where a lot of people fall down. They try and do everything instead of focusing at what works. So the first thing you're going to do is identify 2 channels to kill it on, or 1 channel. You don't want to do 7 different things. You don't want to chop your shorts across TikTok and across YouTube. What you want to do is understand where the majority of your audience spends the majority of their time and pick that 1 channel, or at a stretch 2 channels, to absolutely kill it on. If you are starting from scratch and you have that very terrifying empty grid, you want to know where your audience are, but also what they're already doing. What are competitors doing on your specific channels, not in marketing as a whole, but on those specific traction channels that you've chosen? How can you do the same thing? Are your competitors putting up threads? Are your competitors putting up carousels? Are they putting up video? Take some time to look at what your ideal competitors are and how you can replicate that yourself on your 2 channels that you're aiming to kill it on. Next, you want to build up at least 4 weeks worth of content, whether that is text content, whether that is video content. Before you do anything on social media, the best strategy, and remember, strategy is just plan, is to have enough of a plan to keep going. Consistency and showing up is what drives growth. So make sure you have enough in the bank to go for at least a month. And the last step is to immerse yourself. Where a lot of small brands and startups fail is that they look at their competitors, they look at their audience, they think that multi-channel marketing will get them the results they need because people validate volume over value. But you want to immerse yourself in those 2 channels you've chosen. If you are a startup, if you are a small brand, you probably have capacity to cover 2. So put 1 person in each. Live, breathe, act on that channel. You will know what the trends are coming up. You will know how people interact. Make sure that your day-to-day life revolves around using those channels. If you are a solopreneur, choose 1. Choose 1 that you are the most passionate about and the most likely to spend time on, because you will get the nuances and you will get the differences. Big brands leverage social media by having channel experts looking out for the trends, researching, seeing what their competitors are doing. You don't have that luxury. So what you want to do is, if you're a small brand or a startup, have your 2 channels to kill it in, focus on them, have people embedded. If you are by yourself, pick 1 channel that you use the most, that you know your audience are on, and immerse yourself in it daily. This is your permission to doom scroll. If you are a brand who is a little further on in their journey and you want to know how to drive big change with little money, you want to do the 3 R's to leverage your social media for free. That is review, research, and recreate. Review what has been working on your channels, research what is working on other people's channels and what the trends are in that space, and then recreate. You either repurpose that content or you redo it. Trust me, people's attention span is shorter than ever. They will not remember that you did the same content. They will just engage with it again. So make sure you're doing those 3 R's. If you're starting from scratch with that empty grid, do this formula. Look at where your 2 channels are getting the most traction. Pick the one to kill it on, see what your competitors are doing and how you can replicate that. Give yourself a bank of content and then immerse yourself every day. And the second completely free strategy is to create high impact content. And the reason why a lot of small brands and startups and solopreneurs stay away from this is because it seems costly. You need a lot of technical skills, you need a lot of time. But this is how you do it for free. Content marketing and content creation doesn't have to be scary and expensive. If you have a phone, you can do content marketing. We are seeing a huge trend away from the highly polished production. Where brands used to spend millions on literal production of high quality content, we are seeing more of a stripped back emotional approach to how people do content. The quick wins, the lifestyle pieces. You look at big brands like Zara, even their marketing feels like it's shot by themselves on camera with your phone. The best way to do content marketing with high impact is to not spend money on it. When you put money into production, when you are a startup, when you're a small business, when you are by yourself, you are putting a lot of expectation on the quality of the output, when actually what you want to put the expectation on is the quality of the messaging. The messaging that you put across doesn't need fancy graphics, big studios, it needs you. So here is how you make high quality engaging content for no money. First off, you need to know your audience. I will say this every week forever because this is where a lot of people fall down. But what you're going to do to make high quality content is reach them with their emotions. For high impact, people need to feel a certain emotion when seeing you, whether that is eradicating a pain, giving them some joy. Just telling people about your brand and about what you do is not enough. You cannot tell. You have to show and bring people into the emotional value that they get from you. So make sure it's emotional. If you don't know how to do your emotional and functional benefits, take my course. We go through that in there so we can understand how to do your emotional and functional benefits. The next way that you want to make sure you're being emotional and you're creating that high impact is to tell humanized stories. You need to take people on a journey. You need to show who you are and what you do. And that is not with high-end production. That is telling the human story behind your brand, behind your startup. Again, storytelling and narratives, huge part of my course. But with your high impact content, make sure that you are being relatable. We all have shared emotions, shared feelings, shared pains. So make sure that when you are creating your content, you are leaning into that over the big splashy. Have you ever noticed that Red Bull never shows their product? When you look at their content that goes over social, when you look at the content that they have on YouTube, it's not somebody drinking a can of Red Bull. It is not somebody talking about the product. It is somebody doing something that drives high octane energy and emotion because that is what their audience crave. They want the fast pace. They want the adventure. It's not about the product. It's about the people and the emotion. So lean into this when you're making your own content. And the final thing that you want to do for completely free while creating high impact content is to show your vulnerability. Your unfair advantage as a brand, as a creator, as a startup is that you were built for a reason. You are not a big corporate. You are not Coca-Cola. You have a why. You have a story. You are a small company that has a background. And because you're a small company, you have vulnerabilities. You are going to find struggles going against the big brands. You are going to find struggles going against corporates. So be open. Vulnerability as a small brand or a startup is a powerful emotional driver. You are not there hiding behind your millions. You are not there as part of the cog and machine. You are there as a person or as a small team who is trying to achieve something. To create high impact content on a very, very low budget or no budget at all, use the power of your vulnerability to tell people the truth of where you are, what you're trying to do, what your problems are. Vulnerability and authenticity lead the way in getting content that converts. So you don't need money, you just need to be able to tell your story and be open and honest with your audience. The third strategy is one that always feels outside of our reach, and that is working with collabs and influencers. Traditionally, you need quite a big budget for that. And in the way that we traditionally work with influencers, I am all here for it. There is nothing worse than someone that tries to get someone to do something for free by just asking or expecting because they're getting exposure. That is not how you work with influencers. Big companies, big brands who have a big budget, leave that to them. For you, if you are starting up, if you are a small brand, if you have a very little budget or no budget, this is how you work with influencers. And I am a broken record. You start with your audience. Look at your audience and find people within your current audience who have a following. Do not go for clout. Go for people who are within your audience mapping, who are your ideal audience. You don't need to start with the big brands, with the big influencers, with the big numbers of following. As you've already done your research and you already know your audience, and if you haven't, check out my course, check out my templates, you will already know what pain point you solve for your audience. So when you find these people in your ideal audience, your ideal buyers that have a few hundred, a few thousand, a couple of thousand people that follow them and engage with them, you will already know what pain point that you are solving for that person. So what you want to do is you want to look for people who have an engaged audience that you know you're solving a pain point for, and send them your product for free. If your product, your brand, your service aligns with your audience and truly solves a pain point or brings joy, you are on the right track to do influencer marketing for free. And it's not a cheeky way of doing it. And you're on the right track because you have found your ideal audience and you are solving a problem for them. 9 times out of 10, if you solve a problem for somebody, they will share it, especially if they're driven to live their lives through social, to share what they're doing on social. Oddmuse started with this tactic. They led with the product. They knew they were building a product good enough for the people who wanted it to share it, to wear it. So they didn't pay for influencer marketing because they were already addressing what they wanted, their desires already, and they were so excited about it, they naturally shared it. This is not a guaranteed way to do influencer marketing for free, but it is the best way, because from this, you either get that post, that growth, that person involved, or you learn. If you are not delivering enough value for somebody who has a following between 2,000 and 10,000 people to share, you probably aren't delivering the value that you are expecting. So it's giving you good data and feedback on how you're positioning and how your product is. So if you have a physical product, if you have a digital product, keep running this exercise of this free marketing strategy to reach out with your product, with your service, to those within your audience who have an engaged following. If no one posts it, you need to go back to the drawing board. If people post it, you have got your free influencer marketing and collaborations. But do not just post and go. These people are within your ideal audience, and you need to build them into your ambassadors. This strategy is a free way in which to get exposure, but it's also a free way in which to start building your community. If you're a small brand, if you're a startup, if you're doing things by yourself, word of mouth, digital footprint word of mouth is so valuable. Don't just see this as a strategy to execute, to get that post, to get that hashtag. Use it as a way to genuinely give value. Give value to the bigger people in your ideal audience, and you will start building a community around you. And I could talk about this for ages, so what I will do is I'll do a second video. But this marketing strategy that's completely free is a great way to A, test your audience is there and your product is right, B, get that social growth in that social post, but C, start building that C word, that community. And now the final one. The final of the 4 marketing strategies that are completely free but will grow your business is one that no one cares about and no one uses, but it has the biggest impact ever, and that is tracking your results. This is completely free. I have made you a free tool in the description of this video in which you can put all of your campaigns, all of your social, all of your marketing, and you can track it. If you are in a small brand, if you're in a small business, if you are a small team, if you are a generalist over a specialist, if you are doing this by yourself, what tends to happen is you are forced to focus on executing because there's not that many of you. And every day is executing and moving on. The best strategy that you can implement right now, wherever you are in your journey, is to track what you are doing. Everything that you do, you need to measure. It feels like a lot of work where you're just starting out. So I've made this template where all you have to do is add in a field of what you are generating from each post, and then you will see what is driving results. By measuring what you're doing versus what the output is, you will then build your own library of learnings, your own insight, and I will teach you how to not only make every marketing campaign better than the last, how to reduce the time in which it takes for you to plan a campaign, how to reduce the spend you have on your actual campaign, but also how to make sure that your results are better every single time, guaranteed through using this free tool. I have a lot to teach you, so please do stick around, subscribe, like, and I'll speak to you next week.